Okay, so we ask that you please rename your Zoom name to your full name and the organization that you're with, if possible. And then if you're a resident, please put the letter R. For roll call, I'm going to go down the list as it appears on my screen. And when I call on your name, if you can please unmute and say which organization you're with. And at the end, I will be introducing attendees from the Port of Stockton. So first up, we have Chuck.
Good afternoon, Chuck DeYoung with H.J. Baker.
Welcome. Then we have Alex.
Hi there, Alex Vanderhoff from Momentum.
Welcome. Next, we have Bonnie.
Hello, I'm Bonnie May, also from Momentum.
Hi, Bonnie. And then we have Hector.
Hi, Hector Olivares from Catholic Charities Diocese of Stockton.
Welcome, Hector. Then we have Eleanor.
Hi everybody, Eleanor Kirtley, Green Marine.
Thanks, Eleanor. And then next up, we have SB.
Hello, good afternoon. Esperanza Vielma with Environmental Justice Coalition for Water.
Welcome, SB. And then we have F. Patalan. If you could unmute and introduce yourself.
Sorry about that. It's Frank Padalano. How are you? I'm from SSA Pacific at the Port of Stockton.
Oh, welcome, Frank. Thank you. Okay, and next we have Gianelli. Apologies if I didn't pronounce that right.
Hi, my name is Janelle Mendez, and I'm with Catholic Charities Diocese of Stockton.
Welcome, thank you. And then Gloria.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gloria Alonso. I am the Environmental Justice Advocacy Coordinator with Little Manila Rising.
Welcome, Gloria. Thank you. And then next we have Jennifer States.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer States, Director of Ports at Momentum.
Welcome. Happy to have you. And then Kyle.
Oh, hey, everybody. This is Kyle Goff with the California Air Resources Board, and hopefully you can all hear me saying this.
Yes, we can. Thank you. And then Mary Elizabeth.
Mary Elizabeth, resident, Delta Sierra Group of the Sierra Club, Conservation Chair.
Thank you. Welcome. And Randy.
Good afternoon, Randy Helen with RC Helen Consulting.
Thanks, Randy. And Margot.
Hi, I'm Margot Prouse. I'm a resident in the AB 617 area, and I'm chair of the local Delta Sierra group.
Thank you. Welcome. And Tanisha.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Tanisha, and I'm the EJ Program Coordinator with Catholic Charities.
Thank you. Welcome. And from Port of Stockton, we have Commission Chair William Treza, Commissioner David Atwater, Port Director Kirk De Jesus, Jeffrey Wingfield, Deputy Port Director, Jason Cashman, Environmental and Regulatory Affairs Manager, Victoria Lucero, our Public Relations Coordinator, Daniel Orozco, our Grants Management Specialist, and Karen Romero and myself. And I don't think I missed anybody. Apologies if I did, but if I didn't, I will go ahead and turn it back on over to you, Jeff, and I will share the PowerPoint.
Great, thank you. All right, well, welcome everybody, and thank you. We appreciate you being here. Today's meeting, we've got Eleanor Kirtley and Randy Helen. They're going to provide a brief overview of the Green Marine program and our 2023 results. Then we have Bonnie and Jennifer with Momentum. We'll be discussing the Reconnecting Communities grant, and then I will be giving the Port of Stockton updates at the end this month. Just real briefly on Green Marine. So Green Marine is the leading environmental certification program for North America's maritime industry. It's a voluntary initiative that helps its participants to improve their environmental performance beyond just regulations. Green Marine targets key environmental issues related to biodiversity protection, air, water, and soil quality, and community relations. So with this, I will turn it over to Eleanor and to Randy.
There's my unmute. Well, thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Julia, for coordinating and for the invitation to share an overview of Green Marine today. Pulling up my slideshow.
I would also just like to, for any of our tenants, we are, the port was certified, I believe, in 2018. And now we've gotten 3 other port tenants to join the Green Marine program. And so if you are not a member and you are interested, please contact us or Eleanor or Randy. So that should get us at least another bump on our key KPIs, right, for our outreach.
I think so. Yeah, exactly. It was great to hear that we've got SSA on the line. Frank, nice to meet you. We also have Metroports as one of the terminals at the Port of Stockton who has joined and is certified. So definitely very cool to see the growth. I've got a map that will show more of the dots. But yeah, Jeff gave a great little nutshell. I'm going to give you a little bit bigger of a nutshell. I can share that we launched in 2007. So we are now 17 years old. We were originally founded in the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Seaway region. So we were binational and bilingual from the start. So we had our own translations with English and French with all of our publications. Our overall mission is advancing environmental excellence. And some of the main ways that we do that is by defining criteria that go above and beyond regulation, serving as that platform to define and disseminate and incentivize exceeding regulatory compliance, and really fostering a culture within communities, within organizations, to voluntarily go above and beyond and continue year on year with their annual benchmarking of performance. And we define our performance indicators very much through a partnership, through a collaborative method with stakeholders, with our members, and then beyond with subject matter experts. So we are unique in that we are the most comprehensive environmental program for the maritime industry. We certify organizations both landside and vessel side. So we have 5 sectors: ship owners, shipyards, port authorities, terminal operators, and the St. Lawrence Seaway. So we're comprehensive in the breadth and depth of our membership and also in the scope of our environmental program, where we hit on key environmental issues, 14 different performance indicators. And that membership is really grounded in the working relationship that we have with some of our NGOs, our government relationships, and our credibility also comes from this third-party verification of results. We have Randy Helen with us today, one of our oldest verifiers, or longest with the program.
Yeah.
Not comment on his age. Also, transparency with public reporting is important to us in terms of disclosing what it is that we do. So here's that map. When I joined the program in 2014, there were 0 dots in California. So this is just a really exciting token that I think communicates the commitment of the maritime industry to voluntarily take on these measures in the annual certification process. You see our dots have extended from the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence to the East Coast Gulf and West Coast, 185 participants throughout the US and Canada. And then in addition to our participants, who are the ones who get certified, we have 3 more member categories. We have the partners that might be consultants or technology developers, other service providers. We have associations that may have members that are shared with us because they may have an advocacy mandate if it's like a ports association, for example. And then where the environmental groups and government agencies fit in, or other nonprofits, academics, conservations, they'll fit within the supporter category. I'll share that in 2020, we launched Green Marine Europe. That was with a licensing agreement with an NGO, Surfrider Foundation Europe. And so they have now grown over the last 4 years adopting and adapting our ship owners and shipyards program or performance indicators. And if you add in their members, that number at the very top right of the graph exceeds 500 member organizations globally. And then getting into the details a bit, on the scope of the program, 14 different performance indicators. Specifically for ports, we have 8: greenhouse gases and air pollutants, spill prevention and stormwater management, dry bulk handling and storage, community impacts, environmental leadership, waste management, community relations, and the newest one, which was optional in 2023, is aquatic ecosystems. And then for each of these performance indicators, we define criteria on a scale of levels 1 to 5. Level 1 being monitoring of regulations, and then beyond compliance starts with the best practices. At level 2, typically something more operational or prescriptive. Moving up to level 3 is where you'd have a measurement or an inventory, like an air emissions inventory or a formal management plan. We can use the findings from that inventory to set reduction targets. At these higher levels, we'll also set reduction targets that have to be met. We want to recognize more capital investments in innovative technologies and foster research and development, all kind of progressing up to level 5, representing excellence and leadership. And if you have kind of like one takeaway slide from today on what is Green Marine, it is our annual certification process. So in early 2024, we released the updated 2024 program, annually incrementing up a few of the performance indicators, such that in the beginning of 2025, our participants will conduct their self-evaluation through our online Smart Guide. Results due March 15th. Their verifier logs on to the Smart Guide and goes through all the collected documentation to verify that the participant is doing the criteria that they say they're doing to meet the levels that they have claimed. And then our big annual deliverable is the annual performance report that we release at the annual conference called Green Tech in June, hosted in a port city, where we also have the certification reception. So we're handing out certificates, and then participants get the right to use the Green Marine Certified logo, which was what you see on the right side of the slide. Here's a little one-page screenshot of the annual performance report. Definitely encourage you to check it out online under our results page. You can also download or request a whole printed copy, and it's not just the integers 1 through 5 of each individual participant's results, but it really does give kind of like a global look of performance and kind of a narrative of our program, where we came from, who we are, our goals and ambitions of what we want to do, and kind of how we walk the talk of sustainability as well. But onto the numbers, because my background's more engineering and the numbers side. For 2023, we had 220 reports submitted, which represents over 1,400 performance indicators that all need to be QA'd and compiled and come up with pretty plots like this. Compared to 2022, that represented an increase of 20%. We had the largest ever incoming class. That was largely driven by new terminals in the program, or new terminal locations in the program, like the expansion with Metroports and with SSA and with some of the former series locations. That black line that you see is kind of the global average. So of the 1,400 performance indicators, identifying performance on a scale of levels 1 to 5, the average is about 3. And on purpose, we designed the program to be adaptive and dynamic. So year on year, we're updating the criteria to stay above and beyond regulation. So it's not too hard, not too easy, which would be reflected if the average was lower or much higher, for example. And then another longitudinal look of the 16 years of results is we have the number of participants reaching each level. So at least one level 2, that's a proxy for number of participants. And then at least one level 3, 4, and 5 is where you'd see Port of Stockton and their peer group in the leaders of the industry. And specifically on Stockton here, I'm teeing up Randy a little bit, are their 2023 results. We have a little comparison of their results in Navy versus an average of all ports. So you see Port of Stockton is averaging over a level 4 And I'll compare that to the prior slide that had the global average more at a level 3. So the results are posted on their own webpage or website within our page. The link is down there. I'll encourage you to check that out as well. And more kind of broadly on Green Marine and our approach, very much committed to transparency, beyond regulation, continual improvement with year-on-year results reported, making sure our level 5 criteria represent ambitious targets, and really trying to build trust with all of our stakeholders across the membership and broader maritime community. One of the ways that we do that is the collaborative approach to our program development, making sure we have representatives around the table, like specifically at our work groups. Like I have an air emissions work group that I'm due to write the package for this week. We have our meeting coming up in early September, but we have the users around the table, environmental groups around the table, government from both the US and Canada, all kind of weighing in, kind of like what is the regulatory baseline and what is the ambition of the industry. So to put some logos up on the slide, hopefully you'll recognize some of these, trying to show some of the geographic diversity as well that we have within the organization. And then touching on some of the benefits of Green Marine. We also have 2 of our 7 staff work in communication. So we want to help tell the success stories of our members. We want to help shine a light on the maritime industry. We do that through our LinkedIn, our social media, our website. We have a monthly newsletter. Our magazine is released twice a year. We also support our participants in publishing with their Green Marine logo and their results if they want to promote their certificate, or put the certified logo on a business card, put it on their website in their advertisements, for example. So kind of wrapping up here, the invitation or the ask is to stay in touch. Really what that means is to subscribe to our mailing list. If you're not already on it, if you go to the homepage, scroll all the way to the bottom, there's a nice little entry bar there to put your email address in. You'll get the monthly newsletter, blasts or press releases about the magazine, other announcements with new participants joining, and then also most importantly, for our annual conference, Green Tech 2025, it will be our 18th annual, and we will be in New Orleans. The call for speakers will be coming out later this fall, so keep an eye out for that, and I hope you will be able to join us. And then kind of last, let me give credit to the rest of my team. We have our headquarters in Quebec City with David, Minal, Ronique, and Julie. Me and Brittany are in Seattle, and then Allison is in St. John's, Newfoundland. And that's what I have prepared, with a couple extra in case questions come up.
Great, thank you, Eleanor. There was one question in the chat. Oh, I'll let Margot go ahead.
Yeah, 2 questions. So your map that showed where the sites were that had certification with Green Marine, it looked really heavily around, I think, if I remember correctly, around New Orleans area, et cetera, and quite a bit in across the country. Are you, and I couldn't read the page you had up there with the data, but what results are they seeing in terms of, I mean, this is a certification to talk about what they're doing, but are there results in terms of air quality, et cetera?
Ooh. So the results that we publish, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that link. Do I have that link ready to go? Okay, well, actually, I have our performance indicators link ready to go. And then here's the program or the performance indicators specifically for ports. So this is what these results can track back to. So if you see a participant has reached a level 3, for example, you can go back to this program of performance indicators and see all those explicit criteria. So the data that Green Marine, that like Eleanor has access to, are the criteria selected and then the levels achieved. I don't have access to the justification and those kind of like clean air plans. I wouldn't be the one looking at that. The person who would look at that, the participant has to make it available for the verifier to check that they've met all the criteria.
So the participant measures it and then either reports to you or doesn't.
They report to us against the criteria and performance indicators that we publish.
Uh-huh, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there was
And then
another.
Gloria,
that was-
Gloria had a comment in the chat about, could we put a link in the chat? What exactly, which link would you like, Gloria?
Yeah, it was the one that Eleanor pointed out in one of her slides.
I just put a whole bunch of links in the chat. Hopefully one of those is what you're looking for.
It was the one that covered the emissions by the port compared to other, so to the one, yeah.
So the image that I showed of like the horizontal bar graph that had Port of Stockton and Navy
Yes.
and the port average in green, that was produced specifically for this meeting. So we don't have that on the website.
Okay, thank you for explaining that.
Yeah. 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 And then I guess I'll hand it over to Randy.
Great, thanks, Eleanor.
Great. Thank you, Eleanor. Thank you, Jeff. Boy, it is an absolute honor to be able to be part of this meeting. And Eleanor is correct. I am probably one of the longer standing verifiers, as probably one of the oldest ones as well. So she's probably correct on both parts. Just to give a little bit about my background, I had the honor of being part of the U.S. Coast Guard for 32 years. I was in the Marine Safety, Security, Environmental Protection Program, the regulatory side, the captain of the port side. So I had the opportunity to be a captain of the port at a port and then oversee Coast Guard operations in a district office as part of my career. So I was involved in the environmental area. Had the opportunity to go to a number of large-scale oil spills, Exxon Valdez in particular, and some other ones during my career. So the regulatory response side is part of my background. When I retired, I had the opportunity to become a verifier in 2012. So I've been doing green marine verifications for going on 12 years now, and it's absolutely been an honor and a privilege to do that. So what I thought I'd do today is kind of explain a little bit about what the verifier does, maybe the process that we go through, not only in the Port of Stockton, but every area that I go to do verifications. And it might help clarify kind of the process from the starting of the self-assessment all the way through when the scores are reported at the very end. I've had the privilege of doing the Port of Stockton for 3 times, and I can tell you that I've seen a gradual, systematic improvement every year, which is wonderful. Just another note about all the verifiers in Green Marine. We're not Green Marine employees. We are all independent. We are certified by Green Marine as verifiers, and we go through a yearly training program to keep up our certification. And so I think there's probably 25 or so verifiers that are out there that can be selected to do verifications. The process that we go through, and Eleanor did a terrific job of describing it. Every year, the port, the terminal, the shipyard, the towboat company, the shipping company does a self-assessment, and that's done every year by the member. Every 2 years, a requirement is the verification, which I'm a part of. So when I get selected to be the verifier, the port, and in this case Stockton, would submit their self-assessment. They would identify me as their verifier, and then I would have access to the entire self-assessment. Part of that, and Eleanor mentioned the SMART Guide, and as part of the computerized self-assessment, they have the capability of providing attachments. So for each of the criteria, the desire is, and the requirement is, that you justify each one of the criteria with supporting documentation. And that supporting documentation could be a certificate, could be a manual, could be procedures, but it has to be supported by some type of documentation. So what the process is that the Port of Stockton would submit their self-assessment. I would get it, I would review it, I would review all their documentation. If there's a question regarding anything that's submitted, I would have the opportunity to call and chat with them, and we would get things upgraded, fixed, clarified before I do a site visit. And it is other than maybe the COVID years, it is a requirement of Green Marine that all verifications are done in person. So we would set a date. I would come and we would start off with a meeting. We would go through each criteria. We would discuss it. If there was any question, we would discuss that. We would go through the entire self-assessment during my visit. Once that is completed, that would be then we would do a port tour. So I would identify certain things that I would like to see and just do a general port tour to see that what is put in the self-assessment and what is being substantiated, I could see out in the port area. So it's not only just the procedural documentation, but it's an on-site verification of what is put in the self-assessment. So that's pretty much the process. And then after that, we would come back and do a closing meeting, at which point I would then report the scores to Green Marine. And in this case, Jeff would go ahead and sign off on those. And that would be the end. And then I follow up with a report to them following my visit. So generally, as you saw in the scores that Eleanor put up, Port of Stockton is doing very well. They are showing that systematic improvement, which is really the basis for Green Marine. It's that continual improvement over time. And again, what I think the impressive part of that is the criteria are being updated all the time, and in most cases they're being upgraded and more difficult to attain. So it doesn't mean that because a port get for example, a 3 last time, that they're going to get a 3 this time, because the criteria does change and it's becoming more and more difficult to attain maybe the same level. So there's a continual process of updating the program. One thing that Eleanor mentioned, there's certain work groups throughout the country. One nice thing that Green Marine does is they add verifier participation. I've had the opportunity a couple of times to participate in some of these work groups and provide input from a verifier's perspective on some of the changes that Green Marine is considering to make. So overall, I just wanted to share with you that I'm very impressed with what the Port of Stockton has done and is continuing to do, and I think they're really following the model of Green Marine and continuous improvement. So with that, I'd like to take any questions if anybody has any.
Jeff, you're on mute.
I was just going to say, not that you guys move the goalpost, but you guys do modify the key performance indicator criteria enough to keep up with regulations and as things change. So that's good too. So you can't just get complacent and do the same thing all the time, which is it keeps us on our toes, I guess.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions or statements from the group?
Yeah, and I think I'd be curious if there's others at Port of Stockton, like who have worked on the program, or Kurt, who's like signed off on results, how the program has applied to you, how it's been helpful, kind of open door for feedback, whether on this call or offline.
Well, for me, it's always helpful just to have, we can sit here and we know kind of what industry standard is, and we know we're either at or above industry standard. And it's easy to kind of pat yourself on the back, but it's always helpful to have an independent audit of all your programs. Because that's always good, because Randy goes out and sees hundreds of facilities, and so he can really share what he's seen in other places and also kind of rank us amongst them and kind of give us a real better indicator of really how we're doing. So that's really been helpful.
Yeah, the bigger context.
Yeah.
And one of the things I forgot to add is and this is just something I like to do, is not only discuss where a port is at, but then at the very end say, where do you want to be in a couple of years? So let's talk about maybe some goals that you would want to set for the next verification, for example, and just kind of develop a little bit of a roadmap to get there. So so it's a kind of a two-prong for me, assessing where you're at, but also discussing where you want to be in 2 years.
Yeah, Frank, I don't know if you're still on, if you any feedback from SSA side. I don't know how much interaction you've had with Green Marine, but any feedback on your side?
I haven't had much interaction, but I do know that we are continuing to strive to, improve environmentally, and Joe's been an instrumental part in that, and that takes up pretty much 80% of his time. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure why he's quite not on this call, but I'm certainly gonna share all this information. But no,
Yes, give him a hard time.
we continue to try to be a leader in everything that we do environmentally here. So we're on board.
Yeah. No, we appreciate that. And yeah, I think it's helpful too when our other tenants, we know they're a part of Green Marine, because we all share the same goals, and we're all got the kind of not a finish line, but a goal in front of us to continually improve from day to day. So we appreciate that, and that's been the biggest benefit I see as far as Green Marine goes. And I don't know if anybody else from port staff has any other comments on that.
Yeah, Jeff, I'll just echo kind of what you said, since I was at the Association of Pacific Ports last week, and we did get David was there, and he provided us with a briefing. But it's nice to be able to see how we compare, how other ports are doing, and where we can improve. So just Jeff on that.
Yeah, I think too, it's just some of the conventions and some of the meetings that Green Marine and the speakers that you guys bring in on your annual or other meetings have been really helpful for an open environment for ports to share and collaborate with each other and learn from each other and really figure out the best way to do things. So that's been really helpful.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I don't see anything else, but I do really want to thank you, Eleanor, and Randy, both for being here. We appreciate it. We appreciate what you do and your willingness to bring about change in the maritime industry, and it is having an effect. You've seen the growth. We were really proud to be the second port in California to get Green Marine certified, but we're looking forward to continuing our relationship with you guys. So really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Likewise. Keep up the good work. And pardon me for stepping out early for a prior engagement, but have a
No
great
worries.
meeting, and thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, guys. Okay. Our next speakers are Bonnie and Jennifer with Momentum. I think, as you all know, we are passionate and doing everything we can to try to get truck traffic out of the adjacent community. I'll share a story from when the port director and I were over meeting with the principal and with some of the teachers at Washington Elementary one day, and feeling kind of the trucks rumbling down the street, and just realizing right away that we need to figure out a better path to get all of the trucks, not I believe we've gotten about 80% of them, but to get all of the trucks out of that adjacent community. We thought we had a nice option using Ventura, That's proven to be a little more challenging than we thought with the at-grade rail crossing with the main line, main rail line coming into the port in that general location. So Ravi with HDR provided an update last meeting about the truck counts. And so that information is going to feed into this new grant opportunity that we have seen and identified. And that is it's a Reconnecting Communities grant to really, believe the impetus for this grant was, almost like reconnecting communities that have been divided by, say, a freeway driving, right through their communities, similar to what happened with Little Manila. But we think that maybe this is applicable also to Boggs Tract and just what that truck route does going right through on Fresno. And so we asked Jennifer and Bonnie to come and speak a little bit about this opportunity. We hope that you will all support it. But it is really to study the best route to get all the rest of the traffic out of the community. So Bonnie and Jennifer, I will turn it over to you.
Thanks, Jeff. Hi, everyone. I'm Bonnie May. I'm a strategist with Momentum. So like Jeff said, we're working with the port to support this application to the Department of Transportation's Reconnecting Communities Pilot Discretionary Grant Program. So just a little bit of background on the program. It's a competitive grant program for projects that reconnect communities by removing barriers to community connectivity, mobility, access, and economic development. There's two categories of funding available: planning and capital construction. And the purpose of the program is to identify and mitigate transportation and infrastructure barriers. Those are maybe highways or other infrastructure that isolate and inhibit mobility in communities. And there's a particular emphasis on disadvantaged and marginalized populations. Planning grants under the program can fund feasibility studies, public engagement, and any other planning and design activities. And then construction grants fund the actual design, engineering, and construction of the facilities or whatever the project is. So the port is planning to apply for a planning grant, which we're going to discuss a little bit more on the next slide, but we wanted to bring attention to the fact that there are several years of funding allocated for this program. We have all the totals at the bottom for the next few years. So any solutions that the port identifies in this planning stage could then possibly be eligible for construction funding in the future. Alex, do you want to go to the next slide? Thank you. So like we said, this is going to be a planning grant to conduct a feasibility study to assess opportunities to reroute truck traffic away from residential neighborhoods and vulnerable populations, with a particular emphasis on Boggs Tract because it's adjacent to port property. And like Jeff said, we want to get trucks away from the school that's very close to the truck route. And the port has conducted a few planning studies to date on different potential solutions and truck routes. And so the goal of this grant will be to evaluate those previous studies and then some new solutions to figure out the best way to remove those traffic burdens and then enhance connectivity in the near port community through other potential activities like non-infrastructure activities that can enhance mobility and connectivity in other ways. But I'll pass it back to you, Jeff, if you have anything else you want to add to the scope of that, or we can open it up for questions if anyone's curious about the program.
Yeah, are there any questions or any thoughts? And sorry, I didn't mean to leave Alex out. Alex is a part of this as well.
No worries.
So Jeff, I have a question. This is Marco.
Yes.
So this is to apply for a planning grant.
Yes.
That's what your role is? That's
exactly.
uh-huh. Okay. And the planning would be some other entity. Is just to get the grant, right?
No, we would do the planning. It's just to get the funding to help provide, the the bigger picture look at getting the trucks to
Right.
and from the port.
Right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. SB asked when is, oh wait, let me go to Nate. Climate Action Board, which has its first of many Zoom meetings. Okay. And then SB asks, when is the grant due? I don't know if Daniel is on, but maybe Bonnie, you know that one?
September 30th.
There we go.
Jeff Ector had his hand up
Oh.
as well as Gloria.
Please call on them.
Hi, this is Hector. So it was just the same question as far as when the grant was due. So that was answered.
Great. And then Gloria?
Yeah, yeah, I guess my question is more related to, so you mentioned at the beginning that this is that I don't recall the name of the staff that is involved in the truck, in getting the truck data. I think you said Rody, right?
Navi from HDR. They were the ones conducting the
Navi.
recent truck survey. Yeah.
Navi, yes, that's right. I was wondering, just because we did receive some requests for support, and some letters, if there are connections to the funding sources that you were requesting, those letters of support for in here. I'm seeing that this is like in relation to kind of like the similar project, right? Which is ultimately this truck rerouting vision, right?
Yes. Yeah, did we ask for a previous support letter for anything on the truck rerouting? I can't recall. I
We
apologize.
did. It was for the Washington widening. I believe may have been for appropriations.
That's right. Okay. Yes. Yeah, so we had looked at a project to widen Washington just in the section of the port to be able to accommodate the traffic that we were going to reroute around from Fresno and then take it to Ventura. But we see there's a lot of problems with that routing. That's what I was kind of talking about at the beginning with the at-grade rail crossing. And so we really, at that point, decided we need to take a step back and really look big picture about what is the best way to get trucks through there. Does that make sense, Gloria?
Yes, it does make sense. And I actually think that is a good approach, just looking at the bigger picture, just based on the concerns that were shared within AB 617 regarding the rerouting and everything that actually the colleague that you mentioned, Navi, shared in one of the Port of Stockton outreach meetings. It just like, in terms of like looking at a bigger picture goal, I had my own issues with how this rerouting initiative was paving the road for that. And I think that is like a good observation that you're making here as well. So thank you for that explanation and breaking it down.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I don't like to wait very long. I get a little impatient, and I think it was Fair and Peers when they were initially looking at their traffic consultant of ours, when they were initially looking at, what's that? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Jeff.
Oh, okay. When Fair and Peers was initially looking at the traffic.
I have a
data-
question. I've had my hand up for like 10 minutes.
Yes, Douglas, go ahead.
Excuse me for I was just concerned. You know how I'm advocating for the routing because Washington is right by the school, by the kid, and I know that truck have put kind of. I remember last time they shut down the infrastructure from Fresno Bridge, and instead of going widen away from you guys, it went a shortcut. You know, as far as they made the the bridge toward and end up, and all you do, you had to turn right to go into the Port of Stockton right away. It's very simple. Why can't you just restructure the freeway rerouting toward that'll be hitting taking the route to Washington Street, and you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that's what we're going to try to look at. There's a lot of complex issues, and one of the main complex issues is the entrance. If you can see on the screen, there's an entrance to a secure or restricted portion of the port that comes off of Harbor, just up above the yellow circle, and that's the issue, is trying to get traffic into that northern portion of what we call the East Complex. And so we're going to have to close that gate if we make this happen, and figure out a way to get trucks to that northern section. It's kind of hard to explain over Zoom, but basically Homeland Security dictates that we have a certain area of the port blocked off. And right now the only viable entrance to that area is coming off of Harbor. And unfortunately, one of the only ways you can get to Harbor is either Washington to Fresno or Navy to Fresno. Does that make sense?
It makes sense for me.
Okay. Yeah, I wish there was an easier solution. We were really thinking that the Ventura would be a quick and easy, not maybe a long-term solution, but a temporary initial solution to get traffic out of the neighborhood. It would have had very minimal impact on any residents. But with the at-grade crossing for the rail at Washington, it was too challenging. So this grant opportunity is going to give us an opportunity to really step back and really do it right. Do it right the first time, hopefully. And but it's going to take a little bit longer, unfortunately. We are doing other things like putting signage up to guide trucks if they don't need to go into the neighborhood for any reason, to make sure that they make right turns or left turns on Washington to go to Navy, and don't go into the community unless they absolutely have to get to the restricted area of the port. So there are some other interim measures. They're just not as concrete as I would like to see. Anything else from the port team or momentum on that one?
Jeff, if I could, I just wanted to read one little blurb from the grant itself on one of the selection criteria that's kind of relevant for this group. It says that the Department of Transportation, it's all these different criteria of how you win this grant, but they're going to evaluate especially the community-centered approach to envision a solution that reconnects and or mitigates burdens to meaningfully redress inequities and benefit economically disadvantaged communities and address community priorities to the extent possible. So the application must show how the community shaped or will shape the final project. So when Jeff mentioned that this group exists, that the ways the port is engaging, and I'm new to Momentum, so I'm starting to learn all of this myself. But I thought it's such a great opportunity to put this in front of this group early and make sure that we're leveraging these resources for a community-centered approach. So I just wanted to point out that really aligns with what you guys have here with this outreach group and what has been happening. And so I feel like it's a great opportunity to shape that dialogue. So I just wanted to share that part of the grant.
Yeah, no, thank you for not letting that pass by, because that's exactly the conversation we had, is making sure that this group is involved in shaping this as we move forward, and you guys are going to be a key part of it. So we appreciate that. And any other thoughts on being willing to help us move that forward? Great. Okay. We just have a few minutes left, but I told Margot that I would try to get to something, but so really quick to thank you, Jennifer, thank you, Alex, thank you, Bonnie. We appreciate you and your support on the momentum side to really help the port bring funding to for projects like this.
I do have a quick question.
Yeah.
Do you have any like a timeline in mind already? Is there like any specific dates you have for this particular group, to be more specific, especially since you're recognizing that this is a group that will be leveraged to show this type of community participation and community shaping?
Yeah, Bonnie or Jennifer, do you have any other thoughts on if will we be reaching out in the near future as we develop the application, or will it be kind of after we submit the application and after award?
Going to give Bonnie a chance on that, but she might have already dropped off. But yeah, I mean, the key deadline is this, of course, the grant application deadline that Bonnie mentioned, and the letters of support that Jeff was mentioning. That's really the key piece that we need to help with the application. So the language in those letters of supports can be also leveraged when we write the narrative to show that connectivity with the community and what we're trying to do. So that's the key prime deadline, is letters of support in advance of the grant itself. And then we enter the waiting mode of finding out whether or not we get the grant. And I don't have that date in front of me when they announce it, but I don't know if Alex or Bonnie are still on, but I can get you that date of when they anticipate award announcement. That's always an anticipated date, and there can be changes on that on the government end, but I can make sure we share that date back out of when we anticipate getting notified. Then you have a contract negotiation that happens that can take a little bit longer, and then you can get started on actually the project itself. So I'll get you that award date, and then the schedule would be developed from there.
Yeah, I think we're looking at Q1.
Q1. Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, thanks. I was about to say the same thing. Thanks for stepping in, Jennifer. I couldn't get my thing off mute, but I was going to say the same thing. You know, letters of support are the most immediate priority.
And Jeff, I can just jump in here real quick. And so just to kind of add to that, part of the application itself is also to reach out to the community about projects that they would like to see as well. So, I mean, Jeff, we could also set up an ad hoc and kind of see if there's something that we can kind of include. Very high level, nothing specific, but that way it's in there and we can apply it if we do win the grant and execute it.
Yeah, I think that would be great, Daniel. So we'll be sending out additional information, Gloria, and trying to coordinate everybody, letting everybody know what expectations and if there are any needs that we have prior to submittal of the grant application. So we'll be coordinating there. Okay, thanks all, appreciate that. Really quickly over to our port updates. We had sent out a feedback survey, or a survey that we needed feedback on for the Port Outreach Committee structure, timing. I think we've received a handful of responses. I think we're putting it in the chat. If you have just a couple minutes, it really is very quick, just to tell us kind of your priority and your opportunity for meeting times, whether or not we can meet in person. I think we'd like to move to that, or move to some sort of a hybrid opportunity, and also kind of some timing. And Julia, was there anything else on that you needed feedback on?
No, we appreciate everyone that has submitted, and yeah, if we can just get that feedback, within the next week or so, we'll be able to start implementing it for the coming months to see if we're going to move to every other month or quarterly or do a hybrid. So thank you so much for taking the time. And I can't see the chat, but I think yes, Victoria added it in. Thanks, Victoria.
That's great. And yeah, we do want this to be as meaningful as possible. And the other thing we've been doing a lot more lately is kind of in-person meetings with different groups. And so I think recently I've reached out to Little Manila to see if they would be willing to meet. And so any groups that if you want to come in and meet, we are more than happy to do that one-on-one, as well as try to figure out what the best opportunity is for the continuation of the port outreach meetings. Today, in fact, there's a picture there, just hot off the press, that we had a meeting with Congressman Harder. He announced the funding that he got the port for the bonnet capture and control system that will help us to reduce emissions from ships. We are in the process of setting up meetings with the manufacturers of the bonnet systems, which there are 3 of. They are all currently busy trying to get certified to be approved by CARB to handle tanker vessels. You can see this is kind of what a bonnet would look like at the port at berth 7 and 8. And this is the barge-based system. There's also a shore-based system, but we think that would be a little bit of limiting to our operation. But none of the bonnets or the capture and control are currently certified by CARB, but we are working as fast as we can to get one in place to help serve the Port of Stockton tanker vessels.
We
Any
hope to be a
questions?
leader. We hope to be a leader yet again. Because
Yes.
the emissions capture is a big deal and will capture a lot of emissions. I think it can't be underestimated what a change this could make.
Thank you for saying that. Yes, it's a big deal on a lot of fronts, not just with air emissions, but kind of the way we operate. And it'll be a heavy lift for everybody, but it's something that we are really excited about.
Jeff, can you bring this back next time and just kind of talk a little bit more about what the bonnet, just kind of what it does? I'm just curious.
Sure.
I know there's no time today, but
Yeah,
yeah.
we'd be happy to. The other thing, if you want to go back to the list, Julia, unless you like the. Okay, coastal cleanup is coming up. We're going to host a group September 14th. The site we're looking at this year is actually right in the middle of the Boggs Track community. It's an area along some rail tracks that is consistently a dumping ground. And so we're going to be focused on that. So if you've been before, it's going to be a little bit different location. So, but we're really excited about the opportunity there. And then I think I mentioned it before, and I think I mentioned that it was going to be in August the last time, but we are having a Port of Stockton golf tournament. We were able to switch the date to give us a little bit more time for planning. That's going to be September 23rd. The biggest benefactor is going to be Boggs Track Community Center. We're also trying to do something for Edible Schoolyard, as well as with Washington Elementary. We did just get the opportunity to, we will be meeting with the principal at Washington Elementary very soon. And we're excited to continue our efforts with them. And speaking of that, we are doing a back to school clothing drive right now at the port. And if you guys have anything that you would like to donate outside of our port tenants, we can host, and we have boxes set up at the port. We are now at 315 Fife. We have had a flood recently in the normal administration building, so I think a lot of you have been here, but we are now all kind of over at 315 Fife Avenue. But please reach out to Julia or myself if you want to make a donation to anything for the school or the families at Washington Elementary. Anything else on that I missed, Julia? You had supplies here.
No, but we will be sending a flyer out with hours and best hours, and you can always just email us or give us a call, and we can, if it's a large load, we can pick it up as well.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, we've had tenants that have donated, and I don't think Julia would want this again maybe, but large amounts of cans that we went and collected. crushed and then took to a recyclery and then provided the funding. But anything like that, we will make it work. And we're happy to help the school any way we can. And then I think the last thing is, do you want to pull that up again, Julia? I think the last thing was the dissolved oxygen agreement. So I think, I don't know if Mary Elizabeth is still on, but we've talked previously about, you know, other things other than air quality, which the port is very invested in all things, water quality as well. But one of the things that we have had a big success with is our dissolved oxygen aeration facility. And we just recently finalized a new agreement with the contributing groups to continue funding that for the next 5 years. So we're really excited about that. And I'm going to give an update about the dissolved oxygen facility and kind of overview at the next Port Outreach meeting as well.
And Jeff?
Yes.
Do you think that you could also give an update and include the regional board study? I got a notice that they're going to be doing a dye study out there, particularly related to the HABs.
Oh, okay.
You didn't get that notice?
I did not that I've seen so far, but
I'll forward it to you tomorrow.
okay. And I know you weren't here last month, Mary Elizabeth, but we did talk. We had a really good presentation last month about the HABs project. We're submitting another grant.
Yes, thank you so much. I took advantage of that link that was posted.
Great. Okay. Wonderful. Okay. And then one of the things that Margot wanted to talk about was the kind of how the decision making happens as far as the board goes. And I can just tell you that you know, I think this comes on the heels of the Bayotech project. And you know, I can tell you from what we try to do is as we work with the tenant or proposed tenant, we get all the information we can and try to submit. We submit staff reports to the board. We have been trying very hard to you know, get more zero emission opportunities here at the port and build our toolbox, and having a supply of hydrogen to be able to push our tenants towards hydrogen and hydrogen electric trucks has been a priority for us. I think that we saw the greater good of the Bayotech project to be able to provide zero emission fuel, to eliminate the diesel trucks at the port. And so that was what the information and the decision was based on, was the overall opportunity to reduce emissions from trucks and the transportation industry. You know, we got a lot of, we were reached out by the city and the RTD, who was trying to get fuel for their hydrogen powered buses. You know, we saw a lot of support from Nikola and others who are trying to sell hydrogen powered trucks right down the street. And Kirk, Jason, anybody else that wants to join in, that was kind of the basis of the decision. And we're more than happy to have you come in and talk about kind of the overall process of that we go through when we're evaluating projects, and more into the future. But I don't know if anyone else from the port has any additional comments. No.
This is
Go ahead.
Mark. I just
Yeah.
want to say, I think one of our big concerns was that other hydrogen projects are starting to be planned, specifically Valley Link in the Tracy area is going with very clean hydrogen, and the port is going with the very dirtiest hydrogen. And it just seems ironic that we go with green marine and we try to improve everything when in fact we're going in a backwards direction.
Well, I would say that for us, this is a start. I mean, we've talked to Bayotech. They realize, and we realize, that they're not going to be able to produce this hydrogen into the future the way they're doing it. They've indicated that they are interested in evolving and making it more green. At this point, it is so expensive to produce green hydrogen at this point that we just feel like this is a start for us. And then we can make improvements as time goes on. Anybody else have any thoughts?
Thank you all. Have to go.
Thank you. Appreciate it. We can get, and feel free, if you want to sit down, Margot, anybody else, and meet with us, we're more than happy to do that.
Yeah, we'll be in touch. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome.
Jeff,
Have a
I'll
great
just
evening.
make a comment since you asked for any more comments.
Sure.
No, it's just too bad, that this start didn't include full mitigation for all the greenhouse gas. And that's what I'm gotta say.
Okay, we appreciate that. Okay, thank you, everyone. We really appreciate it. Please reach out and we'll be in touch. And thank you very much for